In January 2020, a barrage of Iranian ballistic missiles struck the Al-Assad air base in Iraq. The strikes bypassed defenses and accurately leveled military hangars, demonstrating a highly lethal precision strike capability. This level of precision contradicts the traditional assessment of the Iranian armed forces. For decades, analysts viewed Iran's military as an outdated, poorly equipped relic of the 1970s. Over 60% of Iran's fighter fleet is at least 40 years old, a stark contrast to the highly modernized, well-equipped militaries of its regional neighbors. This chart shows the severe defense spending disparity between Iran and Saudi Arabia. In 2016, Iran's defense budget was estimated at $15.9 billion, while Saudi Arabia spent nearly $57 billion, a greater than 3-to-1 financial advantage. In standard military doctrine, a funding and hardware deficit of this magnitude should render a nation highly vulnerable and entirely incapable of projecting power beyond its borders. To solve this financial and conventional hardware deficit, Iran developed a military doctrine known as the Mosaic Defense. The Mosaic Defense is an asymmetric strategy specifically designed to avoid direct force-on-force conflict where Iran would be heavily outmatched. Instead of matching aircraft for aircraft, this doctrine relies on building an A2AD, or anti-access and area denial, architecture. A2AD is a military strategy used to prevent an adversary from occupying or traversing an area of land, sea, or air, effectively holding critical regional infrastructure at constant risk. This architecture relies on three distinct technological pillars: precision ballistic missiles, unmanned aerial vehicles, and asymmetric naval assets. By weaponizing asymmetry, Iran has built a regional umbrella of deterrence that adversaries heavily outspending them cannot easily pierce. Iran's ballistic missile program began in the 1980s with the acquisition of Scud derivatives. These early weapons were highly inaccurate and functioned primarily as tools of psychological terror rather than tactical military assets. These early missiles relied on liquid fuel, which creates a severe operational liability. Liquid-fueled engines require lengthy fueling procedures immediately prior to launch, exposing the weapon to preemptive strikes before it can even leave the pad. To solve this, Iranian engineers shifted their focus towards solid-fueled composite material systems, leading to the development of the Fateh family of missiles. Solid fuel can be stored inside the missile for years, allowing for rapid deployment and launch from mobile platforms, drastically increasing the arsenal's survivability. The most vital metric in this evolution is CEP, or circular error probable. CEP is a measure of a weapon's precision, defined as the radius of a circle within which half of all fired missiles are expected to land. Older liquid-fueled systems, like the Shahab-1, had a massive CEP of roughly 1 kilometer, making them useless against specific military targets. Modern solid-fueled variants, like the Fateh 110 and Rod 500, have shrunk that CEP to under 30 meters, allowing them to reliably strike specific buildings. Iran pushed this accuracy even further by integrating electro-optical terminal seekers onto anti-ship variants like the Khalij Fars. These terminal seekers allow the ballistic missile to dynamically adjust its trajectory in the final seconds of flight to track and hit moving maritime targets. By shrinking the CEP and transitioning to solid fuels, Iran engineered a blunt terror weapon into a tactically viable precision deterrent. Even with pinpoint accuracy, ballistic missiles share an inherent vulnerability. Their high, parabolic flight paths make them easily detectable by traditional air defense radars. The second pillar of the A2AD network relies on low-altitude penetration. This involves using cruise missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, designed to slip under the radar horizon. Iran initiated this track by reverse engineering Soviet Kh-55 designs to develop terrain-hugging land attack cruise missiles like the Somar family. Parallel to this, Iran invested heavily in a massive indigenous drone ecosystem. While many of these platforms are traditional intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or ISR drones, the critical development is the mass production of loitering kamikaze munitions. Kamikaze drones carry an explosive payload directly to the target, functioning essentially as slow-moving, remote-controlled cruise missiles that attack from unpredictable vectors. The tactical proof of concept for this doctrine occurred in September 2019, during the attack on Saudi Arabia's Abqaiq oil facility. Synchronized multi-axis strikes using both drones and cruise missiles successfully bypassed advanced radar nets, executing surgical hits on the spherical oil processing infrastructure. The strategic impact was immediate and severe. The strike temporarily knocked out more than 5% of total global oil output. This second pillar proves Iran can slip beneath multi-billion-dollar air defense umbrellas to cripple an adversary's economic lifelines. The final pillar of this architecture moves to the maritime domain, where Iran uses physical geography itself as an asymmetric weapon. The Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz serve as the ultimate strategic choke points for global energy markets. To deny access to these waters, Iran relies on naval swarm tactics designed to overwhelm larger, technologically superior fleets within this narrow, confined geography. Rather than deploying traditional capital ships, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates hundreds of highly maneuverable, fast inshore attack craft. These swarms are heavily armed with anti-ship cruise missiles, like the Noor and Ghadar variants, as well as multiple rocket launchers. Operating in coordinated groups, these craft are designed to overwhelm a modern warship's point defense systems through sheer volume of simultaneous fire. Beneath the surface, the regular Iranian Navy deploys a fleet of Ghadir-class midget submarines. Displacing only 120 tons, their extremely small scale and low acoustic profile make them perfectly optimized to hide in the shallow, cluttered waters of the Gulf. These submarines are capable of laying smart mines and launching anti-ship cruise missiles from underwater capsules. This maritime web turns the physical geography of the Gulf against technologically superior fleets, effectively denying them operational access. This map of the Middle East visualizes how these three technological pillars operate together to form a unified, highly effective A2AD network. It establishes a profound deterrent, raising the physical and economic cost of conflict well beyond what adversaries are willing to pay. This allows Iran to walk a strategic tightrope, executing calibrated, often deniable strikes to inflict exact pain on rivals while avoiding full-scale war. Despite this conventional reality, the international diplomatic response has historically maintained a hyper-focus on the nuclear weapons of mass destruction dimension of Iran's military. This focus is heavily reflected in the diplomatic arena, specifically in the ambiguity of United Nations Security Council resolutions. Security Council Resolution 2231, which implemented the nuclear agreement, contains a critical language loophole regarding ballistic missiles. Previous resolutions strictly prohibited Iran from developing missiles capable of delivering nuclear weapons. Resolution 2231 softened this, only calling upon Iran not to develop missiles designed to be capable of doing so. Iran aggressively uses this specific phrasing to legally insulate its program, arguing its conventional precision strike complex is not conceived for nuclear payloads. Furthermore, Iran's rapid progress in indigenous solid fuel manufacturing and composite materials proves that supply-side export controls alone cannot contain this architecture. While international diplomacy remains fixated on the potential of future nuclear payloads, Iran's highly accurate conventional A2AD arsenal has already altered the balance of power today.